57 years ago, Israel, the Jewish nation in the Six-Day War, returned to many big regions, meaningful regions of our land. And it was a huge victory in 6 days, which influenced immediately on all the existence of the Jewish state. Now we return to the Gaza Strip, to Yerushalayim, to Judea and Samaria, to Sinai, to Ramat Golan. And it's very interesting because each and every one of those regions, those areas represent a different attitude, we can say. And I think that the best way to learn from the past, especially today when we are celebrating and mentioning the Six-Day War and all the process that come after this, is to learn from these examples. Now, if I will do a share screen, just we can all see it together. You can see my screen, right? All right, good. So here on the map, we can see in orange the Jewish state before the Six-Day War. We can see how it was limited, exactly, and small. And in purple, this is the huge achievement of the Six-Day War. We can see here, right here in the middle, the heart of Israel, Judea and Samaria. We return to Ramat Golan in the north, and to the Gaza Strip over here, and to Sinai Mountains. This achievement, of course, especially now when we are now in a war that already a few months, so we know how huge this achievement was in 6 days, such a young and small state to achieve this huge achievement. Now, if we will take these examples of the different, the similar and the different in those areas, we can look about the Gaza Strip and Sinai, a huge area that we return in the Six-Day War. There was, in the beginning, there were new communities that were established in those areas, but unfortunately, the government in different stages decided to leave out from this area, because there was attitudes that said, if we will be out of the area, if we will give land to the Arabs, we will have a peace and quiet. Now, unfortunately, Israel tried this a few times, and I think that the 7th of October was a final proof that this attitude is failed. We know that in 2005, when Israel decided to destroy 22 communities that were in the Gaza Strip in Gush Katif.
And the 4 communities in the northern part
of Shomron, right? But in Gaza, the army left. We gave the Arab totally control on this area. And I remember Knesset members and ministers promising us and committed to us that even if one rocket will shoot on Israel from the Gaza Strip, they will go to a war. And unfortunately, from 2005, we got more than 30,000 rockets shooting on Israel. And in those 17 years, Israel in the army needed to go and enter to the Gaza Strip to fight more than 12 times in those 17 years that we left. And in each and every time that the army need to enter to the Gaza Strip, so many soldiers sacrifice their life for this. We learn from these examples that when we are trying to bring peace and quiet and safety to Israel, this attitude of separate and not be in the area with no civil communities and no army, it's failed. Now, there is another model how to bring security and safety to Israel, which is something in the middle. Some people today, when we are talking about what will be the day after the war, the future of the Gaza Strip, some people are suggesting that Israel will have an army control, military control on the Gaza Strip. Now, this is something that Israel tried in the past, and not even America tried. Israel tried it in Lebanon, America tried it in Afghanistan, in Iraq. We know from the past, and we saw it time after time, that it's not possible to hold for long-term military control, because it's become very complicated. Every time that a car want to drive on the road, he's under attack because there is no a lot of cars that are driving. So every small things become to be a big operation for the army. A lot of people killed and hurt, and then the pressure to live is increasing. So we saw from the past that the attitude and the model of we will bring security and safety to Israel through a military control also does not work. Now, if we will take the other parts that we return to them in the Six-Day War, which is Judea and Samaria over here and the Golan Heights, this is actually a good example how in those places which we came there establishing communities. Today in Judea and Samaria, we have 500,000 Jews that living in more than 250 different cities, township, different yeshuvim, communities.
Actually, well, I think it is right, especially today on the day of the reunification of Jerusalem, to mention that we should include also the 300,000 Jews that live in the eastern neighborhoods of Jerusalem. So altogether, we see that in these areas that were liberated in the Six-Day War, it's already close to 1 million Jews, which is a huge number when we think that I came there like we were 10 families, and Rabbi Levinger was in Hebron at the same time, I mean, a few years before. But what we can very clearly see, the big difference between a place where there is a massive Jewish presence and a place where they try to put a massive military presence to no avail.
Exactly, because we see today that in Judea and Samaria, that and if we look here on the map, and we can see clearly how Judea and Samaria is the shield that protects on all the center of Israel, here Tel Aviv, Ben Gurion, 4 miles distance from Judea and Samaria. So today, Ben Gurion Airport, of course,
which is very close.
So we can see here on the map the distance, and after what's happened in the 7th of October, it's so clear that the only reason that Judea and Samaria, it's not the second Gaza, it's because we have those communities and we have Jewish life and Jewish presence, and we are driving on the road, so the roads are open and they are safe. And even if we look on the Golan Heights, which in the Golan, in the Six-Day War, there were more than 130 Syrian citizens, but after the war, Israel sent them to back to Syria. And in this situation today, the Golan Heights is safe because we have Jewish population, so we don't have no one that fighting on us. One of the strong example to this is Yehuda and Shomron and the Golan Heights, that we see that in every place that we have Jewish life, Jewish presence, not only military control, not only the army, Jewish life make the place to be safe. And this is something that today people in Israel, from Ra'anana, from Kfar Saba, are more aware to this, and they are coming to us and thank us that we are actually protecting the center of Israel. Now, even if we will take two main examples that was recently, one of the, in 2021, there was an operation Shomer Chomot, so the road between Dimona to Beersheba was closed. 3 days, the army couldn't drive on this road to bring weapons and military stuff to the army base from the road. He needed to use airplanes because on through this road there is no Jewish communities, only Bedouin, and then they blocked the road 3 days.
We see a similar situation in the Wadi Ara.
And
the reason we were finally successful with the establishing of a new community, Eviatar, which I believe most of our audience are aware of it, is that we managed to convince the government that without our Eviatar, we say our because it's achievement of Nachala movement, the road from the coastal plain to the Jordan Valley could be blocked in a few seconds. And in spite of the fact that it's quite forbidden to establish new communities, we managed through a lot of efforts, but also convincing that the strategic value of a place like Eviatar in the middle of Samaria is stronger than obligation not to establish new settlements. And this brings us to the situation now in Gaza.
Yes, it's true that we see that the army they understand very well the value of a Jewish settlement and how much it's helping them to have more control and to the ability to bring security to the area. Now, as Daniela mentioned, our movement Nachala dealings from 2005, after the disengagement from Gush Katif in the Gaza Strip and 4 communities in the north of Shomron, our movement leading by Daniela together with Rabbi Moshe Levinger, leading the flag of establishing new communities in Judea and Samaria. We are doing this through establishing new communities to bring more awareness and public support and political support, and also land redemption, which we are buying land exactly like the JNF did before establishing the state. So we are continuing this mission now in Judea and Samaria, in the heart of Israel. And through the years, we learned that if you know to act right, you can achieve and create actually change in the government policy. Here in the map that you see here on the screen, this is part of the newest Yishuvim. Through the year, we managed to establish more than, I think, more than 70 places only in the recent 10 years, but this is the fresh one, the young one that now in a process. And one of the strong example, it's Eviatar. And you can see here on the picture, Eviatar, like Daniela mentioned, in the heart of the Shomron near Tapuach Junction, was a huge achievement, and it was a big lesson how we together can help the government to fulfill this vision and to create influence on the government policy. Because Eviatar were the communities that we established in 1 month. We brought infrastructure, we paved the road.
What you see here is a dream, a vision that became a reality. Because what you see, when you see this beautiful settlement or township or community, whatever you choose to call it, it was just a bare hill, just a rock. And see how beautiful.
In 1 month, we create this amazing community to be flourishing and full of life. We paved road, we brought infrastructure. It was a home for 52 families. And we didn't also create facts on the ground, not only create facts on the ground, we also brought more than 100,000 people from all over Israel and also from all over the world to come and to visit. And we actually create a public support that encouraged the government and the leadership in Israel after 20 years that there was a commitment of the government not to establish new communities in Judea and Samaria and not to recognize new communities in Judea and Samaria. After 20 years, Eviatar created a situation that the government decided to recognize this as a place. And it happened when we want to actually create to lead the policy of the government, we need to combine those 3 main things. We need to be able to create strong facts on the ground, but to combine this with public support from Jewish in Israel, but also from Jews all over the world. When the leadership see the support that the Jewish nation giving to the settlement movement, to the communities, it's something that encourages them and helps them to lead this idea. Now, when we are now taking those experience from you, this experience from Judea and Samaria, and we want to learn from this and to bring the vision and the goal to returning to settle the Gaza Strip. I mean, there is a basic fact that the Jewish nation had 3,000 years of presence in the Gaza city and in the Gaza Strip until the massacres in 1929. And we know that the Gaza Strip is part of the land that was belonged to Judea, that from the 12 tribes. So we know
Shevet Yehuda, the tribe of Yehuda.
The tribe of Yehuda. So except from that we know that Gaza is part of our homeland, and except of the strong roots and history, Jewish history that we have so for thousands of years in the Gaza Strip, today we learn and we understand after the 7th of October that we don't have any other option. If we want that the people in Sderot, the people in Ashkelon will be able to live confidence and peacefully, this is the only way. You know, we can say that from the village, the Arab village, El Majdel, today, which was in the not far from the Gaza Strip, we don't have any Hamas terrorists that attacking us. And the only reason that from this El Majdel village we don't have Hamas that are attacking us, it's because today on this village there is a big city calling Ashkelon. And we know that from the village Isdud, we don't have any rockets shooting on us, because on this village today we have the city of Ashdod. And we know that even Tel Aviv University sitting on a village of Sheikh Munis, we know that in every place that we have Jewish life, like we did in all the rest of our country, we have safe when we have Jewish life, and then we have army control, and then we know that the only way, like we did in Judea and Samaria, the only way that the kibbutzim near the Gaza Strip and Sderot and Ashkelon and all the people there will be able to live peacefully and with confidence that the 7th of October will not happen again, it's if we will resettle the Gaza Strip. Now, it's something that in the beginning, when the war started and we started to talk about this, we can say that not so many people had the courage to join, but we see now the soldiers that are fighting in Gaza, and so many of them are calling us and sending us message and in touch with us and asking from us, please make sure that we are not fighting
in vain. But let's translate to those of the spectators who do not understand the words
in this picture.
Yes, Gush Katif, we are back. What do these soldiers say?
The soldiers say, we are the army of the Jewish nation. We will not take off our uniform until we will destroy the enemy and in the Gaza Strip. One of the things that we see that as long as the war is continue, and we see that more and more people, soldiers and the public in Israel, more people realize that the only way to finish this, because even now Hamas continue to shoot rockets on Israel. Now, when the army is there fighting, we still have rockets shooting on Sderot. So this is something that people, and we can see it in Israel. For example, in this, you can see this was from the Mamash 1 month after the war started. Already in Israel, more than 44% were in the idea of resettle the Gaza Strip. After this, we can see it's growing to 68%, and these numbers are growing all the time. And we understand that we need to show the leadership, the government, that they have the backup from the people to resettle the Gaza Strip. Now, the map that you are seeing here on the screen, this is the map that's showing the Gaza Strip. You see the yellow line here. This is the border of the Gaza Strip. This is Sderot, Ashkelon, the kibbutzim, Be'eri, and near all of this area is full of kibbutzim. And this map is showing our garinim, our groups of families. More than 500 families are registered, and those numbers are growing all the time, to resettle the Gaza Strip. Those families, and you can see each and every one has a name already, and they chose a specific area from a history aspect and security aspect, and some of them want to live close to the beach, which is also fine. But we see that this demanding and movement of the idea of resettle the Gaza Strip is growing all over Israel. Every week we travel from city to city in Israel, meeting with people, and people are coming to us and asking from us, continue and don't give up, because this is the only way to bring back safety. Now, through this month of the war, our movement Nachala organized few big events to bring on the stage this demand and will of many people from the Israeli public of resettling the Gaza Strip. So we did the event in the beginning, 2 months after the war started. We did event in Ashdod, and then in Givat Washington. 3 months ago, we did a huge rally in Binyanei Hauma, in the main hall in Jerusalem. We brought, we can say, almost half of the government was participating in this.
The ministers,
10 ministers and 20 Knesset members participate in this event, stood on this stage and demanding to resettle the Gaza Strip. Now, in Independence Day, which we are just celebrate, we brought the Nachala movement organized a huge march from Sderot, finishing when we are watching and looking toward the Gaza Strip, and we brought more than 50,000 people that came and the demand from the government, and also ministers participate in this, and Knesset members and different figures and rabbis, and but 50,000 people came in Independence Day to Sderot, when Sderot is under attack of rockets are shooting from the Gaza Strip to Sderot, and they came there demanding from the government to resettle the Gaza Strip. Thank you very much to this, and we are looking forward to host you here in Israel.